Welcome, adventurers and future dragon riders, to today's journey in the mythical land of Qualth. Join us as we delve into epic tales of heroism, magic, and dragons. Prepare yourselves for a story that will ignite your imagination and take you on an unforgettable adventure. Let the legends of Qualth unfold.
Skyhaven, a magnificent castle suspended upon solid clouds high above the land, shimmered in the morning sun. The castle, crafted by wind dragons, was a marvel of ethereal and draconic architecture, with towers that appeared to merge seamlessly with the clouds. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of fresh rain and a constant gentle breeze. In the grand hall of Skyhaven, Aurrath the Silvered Haze, an ancient silver dragon in his humanoid form, stood in deep contemplation. His silver eyes, reflecting his centuries of wisdom, stared at the horizon. Beside him was Katana, an intelligent ape with a fierce demeanor and the prowess of a vampire hunter. Suddenly, a radiant light filled the hall, and a celestial messenger descended, wings of pure light spreading wide. The messenger's presence commanded attention, and both Aurrath and Katana turned towards the divine being. "Great Aurrath," the celestial messenger began, their voice echoing with celestial authority, "I bring grave news from the city of Demaria. Darkness looms over the city. Murders and severed missing hands from the victims roam the streets on new moons, a growing plague upon the city. The clerics are overwhelmed and cannot contain this evil alone. We beseech your aid." Aurrath listened intently, his silver eyes narrowing in concern. "Demaria is in peril, and its people suffer. We cannot stand idly by," he declared, his voice resolute. Katana, ever ready for a hunt, stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with determination. "We will go, Aurrath. Together we shall uncover this darkness and bring it to light." With a nod of agreement, Aurrath and Katana prepared for their journey. Together they descended from Skyhaven, their mission clear. Demaria, a bustling city of narrow cobblestone streets, grand temples and dark alleyways, was a place of both beauty and unease. Despite its vibrant market squares and ornate architecture, a palpable sense of fear lingered in the air. Aurrath and Katana arrived discreetly, moving through the crowded streets like shadows. They made their way to the central temple, a grand structure dedicated to the gods, where the beleaguered clerics were based. Inside the temple, the high priest, a weary and desperate figure, greeted them. "Thank the gods you have come," he said, his voice trembling with relief. "The situation is dire. Murders have increased. Body parts, especially hands, are being found scattered in the streets, and people are vanishing without a trace." The high priest led them to a secluded chamber where a captured crawling hand thrashed in a magical cage, attempting to escape. The grotesque, animated appendage was a testament to the dark magic at work. Aurrath and Katana examined the hand, their expressions grim. "This is the work of a necromancer," Aurrath said, his voice heavy with concern. "We must find the source of this evil and put an end to it." Aurrath and Katana began their investigation, starting with the captured crawling hand. Using their combined knowledge and magical prowess, they traced the necromantic energy back to its source. Hidden symbols and dark magic practices were uncovered, leading them deeper into the mystery. They visited crime scenes, each more gruesome than the last, with signs of dark rituals and undead activity. At one site they found a blood-stained altar with arcane symbols etched into the stone, hinting at the necromancer's presence. Throughout their investigation, they encountered fearful townsfolk who provided snippets of information. Some spoke of a hooded figure seen only on the darkest nights, while others mentioned strange sounds emanating from the sewers and catacombs. At one crime scene, a frightened witness, an old man with trembling hands, whispered, "I saw him, the hooded man. He was dragging something into the shadows, something lifeless. His eyes, they glowed with a malevolent light." Aurrath and Katana knew they were on the right track. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place, but the full picture remained elusive. In a secluded chamber within the temple, used for magical interrogations, Aurrath and Katana prepared to extract information from the crawling hand. The high priest and several clerics stood by, their faces etched with determination. Aurrath used a combination of magic and interrogation techniques to draw forth the hand's last memories. The grotesque appendage revealed disturbing visions of a necromancer performing dark rituals, commanding crawling hands and mummies to do his bidding. The hand's final memory, before being captured, led them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Demaria. It was a possible lair or staging ground for the necromancer's operations, and it was their next destination. The old decrepit warehouse stood on the edge of Demaria, its exterior weathered and overgrown with vines. Shadows seemed to cling to its walls, and a sense of foreboding hung in the air, was thick with the stench of decay and the pungent aroma of burnt herbs. Aurrath and Katana approached the warehouse cautiously, their senses alert for any sign of danger. Inside, the warehouse was filled with darkness and hidden dangers. They moved stealthily, their footsteps barely making a sound. They discovered evidence of dark rituals and necromantic activity. Hidden passages led to underground chambers where the air was thick with the stench of decay. Undead minions lurked in the shadows, guarding the necromancer's secrets. Aurrath and Katana moved cautiously through the decrepit warehouse on the outskirts of Demaria. The building was a maze of broken crates and dusty shadows, the perfect hiding place for dark deeds. They had discovered a hidden staircase leading to underground chambers, and the air grew colder as they descended. Shadows seemed to cling to the walls, shifting ominously. "This place reeks of dark magic," Aurrath whispered, his silver eyes scanning the dim corridor. "Stay alert, Katana. We're not alone." Katana, ever vigilant, gripped his sword tightly. "I can feel it too. Let's find this necromancer and end his reign of terror." They stepped into a large underground chamber. Aurrath cast a light spell, and a soft silver glow illuminated the room. The light revealed shadowy figures lurking at the edges, their eyes glowing with malevolence. Shadow creatures, ethereal beings that drained life and strength, began to materialize from the darkness. "Intruders," one of the shadow creatures hissed, its voice like a cold wind. "You shall not leave this place alive." Katana raised his sword, his eyes narrowing. "Try me, shadow spawn." The shadow creatures attacked, their forms shifting and swirling around Aurrath and Katana. At the same time, crawling claws, dismembered hands animated by dark magic, scuttled across the floor, aiming to claw at their legs. Aurrath swung his blade, which was infused with silver light. "Begone, creatures of darkness," he commanded, cutting through one of the shadow creatures. It dissipated with a wail. Katana engaged the crawling claws, kicking and slashing at the dismembered hands with precision. "These things just keep coming. We need to find their source," he shouted. The shadow creatures attack, their ethereal forms shifting and swirling around Aurrath and Katana. More shadow creatures emerged, overwhelming them with sheer numbers. Katana nodded, his eyes scanning the chamber for an escape. "There's too many. We need to find another way out." Suddenly a crawling claw wearing a ring with a glowing bead on its finger scuttled forward and punched the ground near a tunnel entrance. The bead activated and a fireball erupted, causing a massive explosion. Aurrath's eyes widened in shock. "Katana, get down!" The explosion collapsed part of the tunnel, cutting off some of the shadow creatures and sending debris flying. Aurrath and Katana were thrown back, wounded but alive. The chamber was filled with dust and the sound of crumbling stone. Katana coughed, struggling to stand. "That was close. We need to move now." Aurrath, his voice strained, began casting a daylight spell. "Sol Invictus!" he cried. A burst of brilliant daylight filled the chamber, causing the remaining shadow creatures to shriek and flee into the tunnels. "The light, it burns!" one of the shadow creatures wailed as it retreated. Using the chaos to their advantage, Aurrath and Katana made their way back up the staircase. The remaining tunnels collapsed behind them, ensuring the shadow creatures could not follow. They emerged into the warehouse, bruised and bloodied but safe. Katana took a deep breath, his body aching from the fight. "We made it, but that was too close." Aurrath nodded, looking back at the collapsed entrance. "The necromancer knows we're here. We must regroup and prepare for the final confrontation." "Next time, we'll be ready," Katana said, determination in his eyes. "Let's go." The battle had been a close call, but Aurrath and Katana's resolve was stronger than ever. The darkness within Demaria had met its match. Back at the central temple, Aurrath and Katana shared their discoveries with the high priest and clerics. The urgency of the situation was clear. They formulated a plan to confront the necromancer before the next new moon. They gathered resources, rallied allies, and set traps to protect the city and its people. The temple became a hive of activity as preparations were made for the impending confrontation. As the new moon approached, a sense of determination filled the air. Aurrath and Katana, along with their allies, steeled themselves for the battle ahead. The darkness within Demaria had met its match.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this adventure, be sure to like and subscribe to the Dragon Emperor stories. Remember, every subscriber becomes another valiant dragon rider in the mystical realm of Qualth. So join us on this epic journey.